So let's start with the Vrabel stuff, because here's why I landed. I would not fire Jerod Mayo just to fire. I still think that's scratching an itch versus enacting a solution at the end of the season. This has been an underwhelming, disappointing, terrible season for the Patriots. Okay. Mike Vrabel is an outlier in two really important senses. Number one, he's a head coaching candidate with a career winning record available on the market. That's a rare commodity at this point. Number two, he's someone that wants to be here. And I think the notion that, like, why would the Crafts keep go shopping down the aisle where it's all of their past trophies and goodies and players and coaches and just stick with the system? Mike Vrabel has not been employed in New England in 15 years. Those 15 years, more than the 8 that he played here, are the reason he's attractive. Different coaching philosophies, techniques, styles. He's done this before and beaten the Patriots twice, including knocking them out at the end of the dynasty era. And number three is just a simple fact. If anyone who runs a business, obviously not speaking from experience, if you can get an upgrade in a certain area with a certain person or position, you go and do it because it's business and this isn't personal. So to grant Jerod some grace here, the guy had 5 years of coaching experience before he became one of 32 head coaches, and now you know I'm serious, in the National Football League, okay? That guy's not supposed to succeed. He's not set up to succeed. And yeah, it's a raw deal. You get fired after 1 year. But Mike Vrabel's better than you now. He, I believe, will be much better over the near future. And I just got to a point watching that game going, Doug, I don't know what the future holds, but I have no good argument for if Mike Vrabel, who reportedly does have interest, wants to come back home, the Crafts shouldn't just jump on it because of what he will do to fix the culture issues here, raise the floor of the roster, and to have the best quarterback, by the way, in Drake May he had ever coached, as someone who's been to an AFC championship game, won a coach of the year, and earned the number one seed in the AFC.
Number one thing I would say is that it's been said over and over again that the plan here was that Bill would coach one more year, Bill Belichick would coach one more year, then you go to Jerod Mayo. And it's pretty clear that from year one, Jerod Mayo wasn't ready for it. Hadn't been coaching long enough, hadn't been groomed for it. It didn't work out the way as planned. And since you rushed him into the job, there's no guarantee that all of a sudden, now learning on the job, he's even going to be ready for it in year 2, year 3, whatever it is. You know what Mike Vrabel is. You know that he's ready. I think the second thing is, if you're the Crafts, you have to ask yourself, what does Jerod Mayo do better than Mike Vrabel? Or what could he do better than Mike Vrabel? And if you're struggling to come up with answers, then I think this becomes a little bit more clear. And the third thing, and probably the most important thing, is that the staff that Mike Vrabel could assemble is much better than the staff that Jerod Mayo assembled back when he became head coach in January, because he had so few contacts around the NFL. They had to kind of scramble and put pieces together, guys that, you know, Elliot Wolf knew, guys that Alex Van Pelt knew. It wasn't a cohesive way of structuring a coaching staff. And Mike Vrabel, who's coached in Tennessee, coached at Ohio State, coached in Houston, he just knows so many more people. And he's had people under his staff before who have won football games. You know that the floor of the staff that Vrabel can put together is much higher than that of the Patriots staff right now. And the ceiling is much higher as well.
Yeah, it's just, so do you co-sign on that? Because again, we haven't talked about it, and it's a hard thing. Like, it's a big if, right? Like, this guy will have opportunities with several different franchises. He'll be able to command a salary and come in with that resume that he might be a top 10 NFL coach right as he walks in the door. And I get he had 2 losing seasons, but you and I haven't talked about it. Like, you sound on board with that notion. If he wants to come back and they're a priority, that you would do it.
Yeah, I think there's a much clearer path to winning if Mike Vrabel is your head coach in 2025. And I'm sure that the Crafts still see a lot of upside in Jerod Mayo as a head coach.
Yep.
I just haven't necessarily seen it this season, and maybe they still do. We're going to get into more Black Monday stuff later on, right? Because I do have something else to say on this. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to start there because it sounds like the easy, simple solution. And there are people, again, who would push back and be like, what's so great about Mike Vrabel? He's not God's gift to coaching, okay? Right. But I know what he is a guy who is not going to suffer from the fundamental breakdowns you've seen on defense or the culture stuff. And I'm not talking about calling out players to the media. Like, that's not inherently a negative, right? It's not about being a conservative in-game coach. It's about a guy who comes in, had winning records right away, knows what his culture is, has the experience of doing this as a head coach. And if the Patriots do move on from Jerod Mayo, I want someone more experienced than him, or certainly someone who's been through it. You might be, oh, what about Ben Johnson? Like, I've said this before. The analogy is a coordinator is really like the head of a department in high school. Like, you're teaching English. You're telling other people how to run that department of the entire operation. The head coach is the principal. There's not a whole lot of hands-on teaching, instruction, coaching, obviously in this case, when you're the head coach, but you're setting the expectation, the practices, the schedule, everything else about the organization going down. I know how well Ben Johnson could tell me about Shakespeare. I have no idea how he's going to set everything else from detention on down, deal with parents as a potential head coach. I know what Mike Vrabel does. I would bring him in right now.
Support us and sign up at Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS or download the app today and use code CLNS at prizepicks.com/CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5.